1970, a man could get married knowing the rules. Today, those rules change while you're playing the game. And when the game ends, and statistically it will, you'll lose half of everything you've built, pay for decades for a life you can no longer live, and be treated like a criminal for wanting to see your own children. Welcome back to Strong Male Figure. Today, let me tell you about Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who understood contracts better than most. He began his life as a slave, literally owned by another person through legal agreement. When he gained his freedom, he wrote extensively about the importance of never again putting yourself in a position where another person controls your fate through legal means. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Today, we're going to examine how modern marriage makes it impossible for a man to remain master of himself. Now, I'm not attacking the institution of marriage as it was traditionally understood, a partnership for mutual benefit and child rearing. I'm examining marriage as it exists today, a legal contract heavily favoring one party while binding the other to decades of financial obligation with no guarantee of reciprocal commitment. The Roman Stoic Seneca wrote, "Every man is in bondage to fear who depends upon the whims of fortune." In modern marriage, a man becomes dependent on the whims of not just fortune, but of another person's emotions, backed by the full power of the state. Let's start with the numbers, because the Stoics believed in facing reality without emotional clouding. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." So, let's examine the present state of marriage. The divorce rate hovers around 50% for first marriages, but here's what they don't tell you. For college-educated individuals, the rate is closer to 30%. However, women initiate approximately 70 to 80% of all divorces. This means that as a man, you're entering a contract where the other party holds most of the power to dissolve it unilaterally. But dissolution is only the beginning. In divorce proceedings, men typically lose 50% of all assets accumulated during marriage, primary custody of children in 80% of cases, 25 to 35% of their income for 10 to 20 years through alimony, another 20 to 25% of income for child support until children reach 18 to 22. Let's do the math on a man earning $75,000 annually. After divorce, he's likely paying $18,000 in alimony and $15,000 in child support, $33,000 of his $75,000 income. That's 44% of his gross income before taxes, leaving him roughly $2,500 per month to live on while maintaining the lifestyle that his ex-wife and children enjoy. Seneca, who was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." But in modern divorce, the system ensures you will have too little. Legally mandated scarcity. The Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus taught that marriage should be a partnership aimed at mutual virtue and improvement. Ask yourself honestly, does the modern legal framework encourage virtue and improvement, or does it incentivize exit strategies and financial extraction? Now, let's examine how the legal system itself has evolved to favor one party over another. The Stoics emphasized justice as one of the four cardinal virtues. What we see in family courts today is the opposite of justice. It's systematic bias. In most jurisdictions, the concept of no-fault divorce means that the person who breaks their marriage vows faces no legal consequences. Imagine any other contract where one party could unilaterally break the agreement and then be rewarded financially for doing so. The presumption in most family courts is that children belong primarily with the mother, regardless of the father's fitness or involvement. Despite decades of research showing children benefit from equal time with both parents, only about 17% of fathers receive equal custody arrangements. Meanwhile, the concept of lifestyle maintenance and alimony means that a woman who chooses to leave the marriage still has the right to maintain the lifestyle you provided, indefinitely in some states. You become financially responsible for supporting a life you're no longer allowed to share. Epictetus, who understood legal bondage intimately, wrote, "He who is overpowered by fear has lost the battle even before he begins to fight." The family court system is designed to overwhelm men with fear of losing their children, their assets, their future income. The ancient Romans had a concept called debtor's prison, where men could be imprisoned for failing to pay debts. We've simply modernized it. Fail to pay alimony or child support, even if you've lost your job or become disabled, and you can be jailed. This is the only area of civil law where debtors can be imprisoned in modern America. Today, marriage has become something different entirely. With women making up 60% of college graduates, U8s, and increasingly out-earning men in major cities, the economic partnership model has dissolved. Yet the legal obligations for men remain the same or have increased. Simultaneously, the cultural understanding of marriage has shifted from "till death do us part" to "till I'm no longer happy." Social media provides endless opportunities for comparison and grass is greener thinking. Dating apps offer the illusion of infinite options at the swipe of a finger. Seneca warned, "It is a shameful thing to be weary of inquiry when what we search for is excellent." But modern culture encourages weariness with commitment and constant searching for something better. Consider this reality. Your wife has a 70 to 80% chance of initiating divorce. She has access to numerous online platforms that encourage her to question her relationship satisfaction daily. She has legal and social support systems that will encourage her to follow her happiness, regardless of the cost to family stability. Meanwhile, as a man, you're expected to remain committed, regardless of how she changes, how the relationship deteriorates, or how she treats you. And if you fail in this commitment, you'll be financially punished for decades. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." But modern marriage requires you to be tolerant with others and have others be strict with you through legal force. So what's the Stoic alternative? How do you build meaningful relationships and even family without entering into what amounts to a one-sided legal contract? The Stoics believed in voluntary association based on mutual benefit and shared virtue. They understood that the best relationships are those where both parties choose to be present daily, not where one is legally compelled to remain. First, focus on what the Stoics called arete, excellence of character. Build yourself into a man of such value that others want to be associated with you voluntarily. When someone is with you by choice rather than legal obligation, you have a much stronger foundation. Second, consider long-term committed relationships without legal marriage. Many couples today live together, share resources, and even raise children without involving the state in their personal contract. This allows both parties to remain by choice rather than legal compulsion. Third, if you do want the legal benefits that marriage provides, tax advantages, medical decision-making rights, inheritance simplification, consider these alternatives: cohabitation agreements that clearly define financial obligations, powers of attorney for medical decisions, proper estate planning through wills and trusts, domestic partnership arrangements where available. The key insight from Stoicism is this: Any relationship that requires legal force to maintain is not a relationship, it's a form of bondage. Epictetus taught, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Similarly, relationship security consists not in having legal contracts, but in having genuine mutual commitment. Let's talk about what men lose in divorce beyond the financial devastation, because the Stoics understood that some losses are worse than material ones. First, you lose your children. Despite being their father, despite your love and commitment, you become a visitor in their lives. You see them every other weekend and Wednesday evenings, if you're lucky. You miss bedtime stories, homework help, and daily conversations that shape their character. The Stoics valued family and the passing down of wisdom to the next generation. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations partly as guidance for his children. Imagine trying to pass down Stoic wisdom during supervised visits every other weekend. Second, you lose your peace of mind. The constant threat of further legal action, changes in custody arrangements, or increased financial obligations creates what the Stoics would recognize as perpetual anxiety about things outside your control. Epictetus taught, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. But divorce keeps you legally entangled with someone whose decisions directly impact your life, yet remain completely outside your power. Third, you lose your future potential. That $33,000 annually in alimony and child support. That's $33,000 you can't invest, can't use to start a business, can't use to build wealth for your actual future. Over 20 years with compound interest, that represents potentially $500,000 in lost wealth-building opportunity. Like, subscribe and comment on what you think about these. Share your experience. Remember, as Epictetus said, no man is free who is not master of himself. Don't sign contracts that legally prevent you from being master of your own life. The strongest position is often the one that requires the most courage to maintain. Have the courage to build relationships on your own terms.